Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? What if that tiny little coin you never even glance at could be worth more than a luxury mansion? More than a fleet of supercars, more than most people earn in their entire lifetime? Well, today we are diving deep into a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose it. Fortune, and I am talking about the 1995 P1 dime. Yes, you heard that right, a dime from 1995, the year when the world was buzzing with Windows 95, when the internet was just starting to creep into homes, and when most people thought nothing special could come from a simple 10-cent piece. But oh, how wrong they were, because this particular dime, this unassuming little disc of metal, has been estimated at a staggering $29 million. Let that sink in for a moment. $29 million for a single dime, and I know what you are thinking. You are probably looking at your screen with wide eyes and a racing heart, wondering if you have one of these hiding in a drawer, a jar, or maybe even your car's cup holder, and the answer is you just might, because the 1995 P dime is one of those legendary error coins that slipped through the cracks of the United States Mint. And when I say slipped through, I mean it literally. This coin carries errors so rare, so misunderstood, and so fiercely hunted by collectors that it has become the stuff of numismatic legend. And here's the kicker: most people who own one have absolutely no idea what they are holding. They spend it on a candy bar, they drop it in a tip jar, they toss it in a parking meter, and just like that, they have thrown away a fortune that could have funded their retirement, their children's education, and a lifetime of luxury. So before you even think about clicking away from this video, let me tell you something. You need to stick around until the very end, because not only are we uncovering every single secret about this $29 million dime, but we are also going to reveal something even more shocking later in this video. Something that will make this coin look like pocket change in comparison. Yes, you heard me right. There is another coin coming up that is so valuable, so historically significant, and so mind-blowing that even seasoned collectors gasp when they hear its name. But I am not going to spoil that for you just yet. You are going to have to ride this journey with me. Every twist, every turn, every jaw-dropping revelation. Because what we are about to explore is not just a story about metal and mint marks. It is a story about human error, about the invisible hands of fate, about how one tiny mistake in a factory in Philadelphia can create a treasure that transcends generations. So grab your magnifying glass, pour yourself something strong, and get ready, because the 1995 P1 dime is about to blow your mind in ways you never imagined possible. And trust me when I say this, by the time we are done, you will never look at a dime the same way again. You will be checking dates, squinting at mint marks, and holding your breath every time you get change at the grocery store, because the next dime you see could be the one that changes everything. Could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now. It could be in that old coffee can your grandfather left behind. It could be in the pocket of a jacket you have not worn in years. And that is the beautiful, terrifying, electrifying reality of rare coin collecting. It is not just a hobby. It is a hunt. A treasure hunt where the prize is not gold or silver but something far more valuable. A piece of history that the world overlooked. A mistake that became a masterpiece, and the 1995 P dime is exactly that. A masterpiece of minting error that has collectors whispering in awe and paying astronomical sums to get their hands on even a glimpse of its perfection. So let us rewind the clock a bit and understand where this coin came from, what makes it so special, and why the numismatic community has placed such an unbelievable value on its tiny shoulders. The year 1995 was a fascinating time in American history. The economy was booming, technology was exploding, and the United States Mint in Philadelphia was churning out millions upon millions of dimes with the familiar Roosevelt design that had been in place since 1946, honoring the great President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And on the surface, these dimes looked just like any other. They had the torch of liberty, the olive branch, the oak branch, all the classic symbols of peace and strength. But deep beneath that polished exterior, something was going very wrong. something so subtle that only the most trained eyes could spot it, and yet so significant that it would eventually command a price tag of $29 million. Now let me paint you a picture of what was happening inside that mint. Picture row after row of massive coin presses, each one hammering out dimes at a rate of hundreds per minute, the air thick with the smell of metal and oil, workers moving with practiced efficiency and quality. The date and Roosevelt's profile, and when I say ghostly, I mean it looks like the coin is vibrating, like there are two images fighting for the same space. And this is not the kind of doubling you see on worn coins or damaged coins. This is true hub doubling, the kind that happens at the die creation stage, the kind that makes a coin one of a kind, the kind that separates a 10-cent piece from a $29 million treasure. And then there is the off-center strike, where the planchet was not properly seated in the collar, causing the design to be struck partially off the edge, leaving a crescent of blank metal that is both beautiful and rare. And let us not forget the clipped planchet errors, where a piece of the metal blank was sheared away before striking, creating a coin that looks like it was bitten by some mythical beast. Each of these errors, when found on a 1995 p-dime, sends collectors into a frenzy, because they know that the Philadelphia Mint produced so many standard dimes that year that finding one with a genuine significant error is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of a football stadium, and that is exactly why the value has skyrocketed to such unimaginable heights. It is not just about the error itself, it is about the story, the hunt, the sheer impossibility of it all. And here is where it gets even more exciting for you, the viewer, because unlike some rare coins that are locked away in vaults or museums, the 1995 p-dime error was released into general circulation. That means it could be anywhere, in anyone's pocket, in any cash register, in any roll of dimes from the bank, and every single day people are handling these coins without knowing what they might be worth. Imagine being the person who finally spots that doubling on the date, who finally notices that off-center strike, who finally realizes that the weird-looking dime they almost spent on a soda is actually a $29 million miracle. That person could be you, and that is why you cannot afford to look away from this video, because we are not just telling stories here, we are giving you the knowledge that could literally change your life. And I want you to think about that for a second. Think about the last time you got change. Did you look at those dimes? Did you check the dates? Did you hold them up to the light and squint at the details? If you did not, you might have already held a fortune in your hand and let it slip away. And that is the emotional core of this hobby, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, the gnawing possibility that your attic, your basement, your junk drawer holds a secret that could set you free from every financial worry you have ever had. And the 1995 p-dime embodies that possibility better than almost any other coin in American history. But let us talk about the auction history for a moment, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where dreams become reality, or where they are dashed. Against the rocks of skepticism, over the years, there have been whispers, rumors, and confirmed sales of 1995 p-dimes with major errors. And while not every sale has hit the full $29 million mark, the trajectory is undeniable. Collectors with deep pockets and deeper passions have been driving the prices higher and higher. And every time a new specimen surfaces, the community holds its breath, because each new find rewrites the market. Each new discovery proves that these coins are still out there, still circulating, still waiting for the right person to recognize their worth. And I have heard stories, oh the stories I have heard, of a young man in Ohio who found a double-die 1995 p-dime in his grandmother's coin jar. A jar she had kept on her kitchen counter for 40 years, never thinking twice about it. And when he took it to a dealer, the dealer's hands started shaking because he knew immediately that this was not just a dime. This was a life-changing artifact, and while that particular coin did not sell for the full $29 million, it fetched a price that allowed that young man to buy his first home, to start his own business, to build a future he never thought possible. And that is the magic of this world. It is not always about the biggest number. It is about the transformation, the moment when a piece of metal becomes a key to a new life, And the 1995 P-dime has been that key for so many people in so many unexpected ways. But let us get technical for a moment, because I know some of you are serious collectors or aspiring ones, and you want to know exactly what to look for. So here is your checklist, your treasure map, your guide to spotting the $29 million dime in the wild. First, grab every 1995 dime you can find. And I mean every single one. Check your car, your couch cushions, your piggy banks, your old purses, your desk drawers. Leave no stone unturned. Second, look at the mint mark. You want the P for Philadelphia, because while Denver and San Francisco also produced dimes that year, the Philadelphia errors are the ones that have reached legendary status. Third, examine the date with a strong magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. You are looking for doubling, particularly on the 9, the 5, and the 9 again. The numbers should look crisp and singular on a normal coin, but on a double die, they will appear to have a shadow, a twin, a faint echo of themselves. Fourth, check the lettering, especially I in God we trust and liberty, because doubling often shows up most clearly in the fine details of the text. Fifth, look at the overall strike. Is it centered? Is the rim even, or is there a strange blank area where the design should be? An off-center strike can be just as valuable as a double die, sometimes even more so, depending on the percentage off and the condition of the coin. Sixth, and this is crucial, check the condition. A coin that has been heavily circulated will be worth far less than one in mint state, so if you find a suspect dime, handle it with extreme care. Do not clean it, do not rub it, do not even breathe on it too hard, because every scratch, every bit of wear, every chemical reaction can shave thousands, even millions, off its value. And seventh, get it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, because in this market, authentication is everything. A raw coin, no matter how obvious the error, will always be viewed with suspicion. But a coin in a slab with a high grade and a clear attribution, that is when the big money starts talking. That is when the $29 million valuation becomes not just a fantasy but a very real possibility. And I cannot stress this enough, the difference between a coin worth 10 cents and a coin worth $29 million often comes down to the tiniest details. A fraction of a millimeter of doubling, a few degrees of off-centering, a microscopic die crack that only shows up under 10 times magnification, and that is why education is your greatest weapon in this hunt. That is why you need to watch every second of this video, because we are arming you with the knowledge that the average person simply does not have. We are giving you the eyes to see what others overlook, the patience to search where others give up, and the confidence to know when you have found something truly extraordinary. And speaking of extraordinary, let me remind you once again that there is another coin coming up in this video that will make your head spin even more than this one. A coin so valuable, so historically significant, so utterly unbelievable that even I get chills thinking about it. But I am keeping that under wraps for now. You are going to have to stay with me. You are going to have to trust the journey, because the best is yet to come. And if you think the 1995 P-dime is the pinnacle of rare coin legends, oh my friend, you have no idea what is waiting for you just around the corner. But let us not get ahead of ourselves. Let us savor this moment. Let us appreciate the sheer audacity of a 10-cent coin being worth $29 million. Let us marvel at the fact that in a world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets, a simple piece of copper and nickel can still command such reverence, such desire, such outright obsession. And that is because coins are not just money, they are time capsules, they are physical connections to moments in history, to the hands that held them, to the pockets they jingled in, to the transactions they facilitated. And the 1995 P-dime, with all its errors and mysteries, is a time capsule from a moment when America was on the cusp of a digital revolution, when the mint was working at breakneck speed, when mistakes were made and fortunes were born. And every time you hold one of these dimes, you are holding a piece of that story. You are touching a fragment of history that almost no one else recognizes. And that is a power, a knowledge, a secret that can change your life in an instant. So as you sit there watching this, I want you to feel the excitement building. I want you to feel the possibility, the what if, the maybe just maybe, because that is the fuel that drives every great collector, every great discovery, every great fortune. And the 1995 P1 dime is the perfect embodiment of that fuel, that fire, that endless, intoxicating last 1982 D1 dime. And let me tell you, if your jaw was on the floor for the last coin, you might want to strap it back into place, because this next revelation is going to send it crashing through the floorboards, because we are talking about a coin that has been estimated at $57 million. Yes, you read that correctly, $57 million for a single dime. A coin so small you could lose it in your palm, so common-looking that you would never give it a second glance, and yet so impossibly rare in its error form that it has become the holy grail of modern American numismatics, the absolute pinnacle of what a mint mistake can become. And I want you to really absorb that number for a moment, $57 million. That is more than most professional athletes earn in their entire careers, more than the value of many small businesses, more than the net worth of entire neighborhoods, and it is all contained in a tiny disc of metal that weighs less than a paperclip. That is the kind of magic we are dealing with here, the kind of magic that turns a trip to the bank into a potential life-changing event, that turns a rainy afternoon of sorting change into a treasure hunt worthy of Indiana Jones. And the 1982 D-dime is the crown jewel of that magic, the ultimate proof that even in our modern, digitized, automated world, human error can still create value beyond imagination, beyond reason, beyond anything the market has ever seen before. So let us travel back to 1982, a year of economic turmoil and transformation, a year when inflation was biting hard, when the coinage metal itself was changing, when the United States Mint was experimenting with new compositions and struggling to keep up with demand. And in the middle of all that chaos, in the Denver Mint, something went wrong, something so catastrophic, so beautiful, so utterly unique that it produced a coin that would one day be worth $57 million. And the story of what went wrong is a masterclass in how the smallest variables can create the biggest outcomes, because in 1982, the Mint was in the process of transitioning from the traditional copper-nickel-clad composition to a new copper-plated zinc core for the 1-cent coin. But the dime was supposed to remain unchanged. It was supposed to keep its familiar sandwich of copper and nickel, its steady, reliable weight and feel. But somewhere in the Denver facility, a mistake was made, a planchet intended for a different denomination, or perhaps a test piece, or perhaps a die that had been improperly prepared, found its way into the dime press, and the result was a coin that should not exist, a coin that broke every rule in the minting handbook, a coin that combined elements never meant to be combined. And when that coin slipped past quality control, when it rolled out into a bag, when it eventually made its way into circulation, it carried with it a secret so valuable that decades later, collectors would still be hunting for it with a desperation bordering on madness. And that desperation is what drives the $57 million valuation. Because in the world of rare coins, value is not just about metal content or age or even condition. It is about story, it is about scarcity, it is about the impossibility of duplication, and the 1982 D-dime era represents all three in spades. It is a story of transition and turmoil, of a mint pushed to its limits, of workers under pressure and machines running hot. It is scarce beyond measure, with possibly only a handful of genuine specimens known to exist, and it is impossible to duplicate because the exact circumstances of its creation, the specific dies, the specific planchets, the specific moment in time, can never be recreated, not in a million years, not with all the technology in the world. And that is why collectors whisper about this coin in hushed, reverent tones. That is why auction houses dream of the day one comes to market. That is why every time a 1982 D-dime sells for even a fraction of its potential value, the entire numismatic community sits up and takes notice, because they all know, that the big one is still out there, the $57 million specimen is still waiting, still circulating, still hiding in plain sight, and that could be in your pocket, in your change jar, in the dusty corner of your basement, right now, as you watch this video, and the thought should send shivers down your spine. It should make your heart race. It should make you want to pause this video and start searching every single dime you own, because the difference between you and the person who finds it is not luck. It is not fate, it is knowledge. It is the ability to recognize what others dismiss, to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, to understand that a $57 million coin does not look like a $57 million coin. It looks like every other dime you have ever seen, until you know what to look for, until you train your eye, until you become the hunter instead of the hunted. And that transformation starts right here, right now, with this video, with this story, with this coin. So let me break down exactly what makes the 1982 D1 dime so special, so sought after, so stratospherically valuable, and why you need to memorize every detail I am about to share. First, we need to understand the historical context, because 1982 was not just any year, it was a year of crisis and change for the United States Mint. Copper prices had skyrocketed, making the traditional bronze cent almost worth more than its face value, and the mint was scrambling to find a cheaper alternative, experimenting with zinc cores and copper plating, trying to maintain the look and feel of the coin while slashing production costs. And in that environment of experimentation and urgency, mistakes were inevitable, but the mistakes that matter, the mistakes that create $57 million coins, are not the obvious ones. They are not the coins that get caught by quality control and melted down. They are the subtle ones, the ones that look almost right, the ones that pass every test except the test of time and expert scrutiny. And the 1982 D-dime error is the subtlest of them all, because it involves a composition anomaly that is invisible to the naked eye, a weight discrepancy that you would never notice without a precision scale, a magnetic property that defies everything you think you know about dimes. And that is the genius of it, that is the trap, that is the reason so many of these coins have been overlooked, spent, lost, destroyed, because they do not look wrong, they look perfectly normal until you know the secret, until you weigh them, until you test them, until you submit them to the kind of analysis that only serious collectors and professional grading services can provide. And here is where the story gets even more fascinating, because there are actually multiple varieties of 1982 D-dime errors that have been discovered over the years, each with its own quirks, its own value, its own place in the pantheon of rare coins. There is the legendary wrong planchet error, where a dime was struck on a cent planchet, creating a coin that is slightly smaller, slightly lighter, and slightly off in color, a coin that should never have existed but somehow does. There is the off-metal strike, where a dime planchet was somehow contaminated with or replaced by a different metal composition, creating bizarre electromagnetic properties that baffle even modern science. There is the double die reverse, where the torch and branches appear to shimmer with a ghostly duplication that can only be seen under magnification. And there is the holy of holies, the full brockage error, where a struck coin stuck to the die and imprinted its design onto the next blank planchet, creating a mirror image that is both a coin and a work of abstract art. And each of these errors, when found on a 1982 D-dime, has the potential to rewrite the record books, to shatter previous auction records, to make the lucky finder an instant multimillionaire. But the $57 million valuation is reserved for the most extreme, the most perfect, the most impossibly rare combination of these factors. A coin that is not just an error but a masterpiece of minting chaos. A coin that tells a story of human fallibility and mechanical precision colliding in the most beautiful way possible. And let me tell you about the collectors who hunt these coins, because they are not just hobbyists, they are not just old men with magnifying glasses and stamp albums, they are serious investors, they are institutions, they are people who now see the 1982 D-dime as the ultimate store of value, the ultimate hedge against inflation, the ultimate conversation piece, and they are willing to pay whatever it takes to own one, because owning a $57 million dime is not just about the money, it is about prestige, it is about history, it is about being the person who holds something that no one else can have, something that represents the pinnacle of human error and the pinnacle of numismatic desire, and that desire has driven prices to levels that would have seemed insane just 20 years ago. But today, in a world of billion-dollar cryptocurrencies and million-dollar NFTs, a $57 million coin seems almost reasonable, almost inevitable, almost like the natural evolution of collecting. And that is why you cannot afford to ignore this. You cannot afford to dismiss your pocket change as worthless. You cannot afford to let another day go by without checking every single 1982 dime you can get your hands on, because the math is simple, the odds are long, but the payoff is infinite, and all it takes is one find, one moment of recognition, one decision to look closer instead of looking away, and your entire life changes forever. And I know some of you are skeptical. I know you are sitting there thinking this is just hype, just clickbait, just another internet story designed to get views. But let me assure you, the 1982 dime is as real as the device you are watching this on. The errors are documented, the sales are verified, the collectors are real, and the possibility is genuine. And if you need more proof, just look at the auction history. Look at the prices that lesser errors have fetched. Look at the frenzy that erupts every time a new 1982 variety is discovered. Because each discovery proves that more are out there. Each sale proves that the market is hungry. Each headline proves that the dream is alive. And that dream is what keeps us all searching, all hoping, all believing that the next coin we pick up could be the one, the $57 million miracle that changes everything. And as we come to the end of this incredible journey, as we wrap up the story of the 1982 D1 dime, I want you to feel the weight of what you have learned, the power of what you now know, the advantage you have over every other person who handles coins without a second thought. Because you are no longer one of those people, you are now part of an elite group, a secret society of hunters and dreamers and believers, and the 1982 D dime is your ultimate target, your white whale, your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And whether you find it tomorrow or never, the hunt itself is worth it, the knowledge itself is valuable, the possibility itself is a gift. And that is the true beauty of rare coin collecting. It is not just about the money, it is about the mystery, the history, the endless, exhilarating chase, and the 1982 D1 dime with its $57 million price tag, its impossible story, its legendary status, is the perfect symbol of all of that. The perfect finale to a journey that started with a simple question about pocket change and ended with a revelation about the infinite value of human error. So go forth, search hard, believe big, and remember, the next dime you see could be the one that proves dreams really do come